Alongside Katie Wyndham, I'm Austin Hannon. This is Bama Central's Just a Minute. Katie, it's officially Tennessee week. Everybody remembers what happens last year in Knoxville, Tennessee, obviously breaking the long winning streak by Alabama. That rivalry returns to Tuscaloosa this Saturday. And I think a big part of the game this weekend, Katie, is going to be the turnovers. Obviously, last week, we were talking about this beforehand, but it seemed like Alabama's inability to turn Arkansas over last week kind of kept the defense on the field longer, kind of kept the offense out of rhythm. And based off what we had seen a couple weeks before that, and they had been forcing turnovers and making things happen on defense, it kind of makes everything easier on the offense. So what is the importance of Alabama kind of winning the turnover margin this week against Tennessee, and how do they kind of make that happen?
Yeah, we've seen at times this year where the players have talked about how the offense and defense kind of feed off each other. And while the offense struggled on Saturday, they weren't ever able to, like you said, kind of get that boost from the defense of turning Arkansas over. I may have done a little writer's jinx on the team on I think Tuesday, writing about kind of what's led to an increase in interceptions, and then they don't get an interception on Saturday. But this past weekend for Tennessee and their victory over A&M, they were able to intercept Max Johnson twice, and one at the end, towards the end, that kind of sealed the win for them. And so those helped them get that win. Now, Joe Milton also had an interception in that game for Tennessee. He's had 4 interceptions in their 3 SEC games. So he has been a little more prone to do that this season than maybe he has in the past. And so I think it'll be big for the Alabama defense if they can get some turnovers, because, like you said, like we talked about, it's huge momentum for both sides of the ball. It obviously takes away the momentum from the other team because they no longer have the ball. It gets you the ball back. It gets the crowd back into it. You talk about this game being home in Tuscaloosa this week for Alabama. And so we did see on Saturday against Arkansas that they did get to the quarterback a lot, got a lot of pressures, got some sacks. And Saban talked about last week that that's kind of led to some interceptions, is the pressure created up front. And so I think it'll need to be more of that. But I think there's a really good chance that we'll see whoever wins the turnover margin wins the game. Even though last year in Knoxville, look, Alabama had some key turnovers. You had the Dallas Turner scoop and score, and you still lost that game. But a lot of times, and Saban talks about this all the time, that he talks about the graph that'll show the teams of this team was +1, this team was +2 in turnovers, and this team was +3, and then whatever, and then their wins and losses, and it's obviously way more skewed to the teams that have the positive turnover margin. So if you're Alabama, you want to limit the turnovers yourself. Jalen Milroe, we know, has been prone to interceptions at times, so you don't want to turn the ball over, and you really ideally, obviously, like to see the defense force some turnovers on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the styles this year of this game is so different from last year. I mean, you think about that game last year and how both teams, were. It was both passing attacks. There was 50 points on each side. It was throw the ball with Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young. And now it's like this year, the offense is struggling, and now the defenses are better, and they got to figure out a way to win the game for the offense. So all it took was a year to kind of completely switch up the schemes for these two teams. Tennessee is +1 in the turnover margin this year. Alabama is +3. So that could play a big factor on Saturday when the Volunteers come to town for the third Saturday in October. We'll talk to you on Thursday for another Just a Minute. And of course, on Saturday, we'll have coverage from Bryant Denny Stadium. But for Katie Wyndham, I'm Austin Hannon. This has been today's edition of Just a Minute.